So welcome to the Roxbury International Film Festival Q&A for this block of shorts. We're really excited to have all of the filmmakers here to have conversations with us about their films, maybe what's coming next. We want to get right to it because we don't have too much time. But what I'd love to do is to have you all just introduce yourselves and introduce your films, and then we'll get into some questions. So why don't we start with you, Kingsley?
My name is Kingsley Pascal, and my film is The Standoffish. It's a little cutout collage style animated short.
Great. Jada?
Hi, my name is Jada Salmon, and I'm the creator of the short film Wash Day. And Wash Day follows Zoe, a young Black girl, just going through the day, washing and styling her hair.
Red?
Hi, I go by the name of Red Shades, and I'm a part of the Little Sabrina mini movie, and it's about a troubled young girl that succumbs to peer pressure.
And Tracy?
And my name is Tracy Anarella, and my film is There She Is, and it's a feature doc about, it's a debate between feminists and those of the Me Too movement versus people, or women I should say, who still, who compete in beauty pageants. So it's like a debate between the two.
Great. So I just want to talk a little bit about your films, and really, I think they all have this common theme about choices and common theme about how we see ourselves and the issues around how we see ourselves, and who we are as as Black people, women, fitting into certain places and not. So I would just love for you to talk a little bit about your inspiration, why did you make your film? What was important to you for you to carry that voice out for all of us to hear and see? So why don't we start with you, Red?
So Little Sabrina came about, one fall night. I was at a concierge position at the time, and I kept playing the beat over and over because I'm the creator of the song, and the story just came to me. I always wanted to have this message to convey to the younger people, knowing that when they're approached by someone older than them, like myself, they're sort of oh gosh, she's gonna be preaching to me. But I was trying to put myself in their shoes. So when I wrote it, I really just wanted to try to help some of the girls out there that might think they have friends that really aren't their friends, and what peer pressure looks like, and what can possibly happen should you succumb to that, and second chances. It's really about that, and there's a lot of moving parts in the film, and I wanted it to be very relatable, which is why we shot it in Fields Corner in Dorchester.
Great. And Kingsley, I want to go to you next because it sort of follows about what Red was saying about fitting in, and sometimes trying to figure that out, and maybe sort of taking a look and introspection in your own self to say, well, maybe I need to sort of think differently.
Yeah. So yeah, I wanted the inception for creating the film was kind of based on me. I'm kind of a shy person. I come across as I don't want to talk to anybody, but I actually do. So it's it's hard to know that unless somebody tells you. So you might come across a certain way, and then it's cool to realize that oh, maybe people, they don't not like me. They just think that they think the reverse. So it's exploring how important it is to have friends that will tell you stuff that's and are there for you. So I don't know.
Right, exactly. And so Tracy, for your film, it's all of these sort of things encompassed. And then I'm going to go to Jada about her film, which sort of celebrates, our Blackness, and what people don't necessarily know about, what a day in the life of even just washing your hair means. But Tracy, I want you to at least first talk about your film, and sort of encompasses a lot of these themes about the beauty pageants, which I thought was really interesting to think about how we put ourselves forward, right?
Well, what was interesting is that the common thread that I found throughout all of the pageants, whether it was the wheelchair pageant, the Miss Native America, the young woman who had Down syndrome, I mean, I covered the gambit as much as I possibly could, is all about validation. It's all, and each of them would say, and as you saw in the film, there's that section where I talked about empowerment.
Right.
And each woman said, or each young girl said, it empowers me. But what I found that was interesting is a lot of times when I would dig deeper, they couldn't quite tell me how it empowered them. But I basically kind of, it translated to me in that I just need validation in some way. And the reason I did the film was that I knew nothing about pageants or pageantry, but a friend of mine was in the Mrs. America, the woman you saw from Philadelphia there.
Mhm.
And I just sat through the entire pageant thinking, I couldn't do this. I don't want to spend that kind of money. And I don't want to, have to people judge me that way. Maybe judge me on, the merits of my film or my intelligence or something like that. But these women don't mind being, having their beauty judged. And not, they say, oh, it's my intelligence, it's my talent, but it's not. So it was all, they needed validation, and they're using their beauty and their looks to do that. And I'm not judging that. It's just that I couldn't, it was hard for me to put my mind around it. And that's what I got from shooting the film.
Yeah, I mean, and then we have Jada's film, Wash Day, which is true validation of who we are and the reality of who we are, and owning that and being unapologetic about it.
Exactly.
So can you talk about like what inspired you to make it?
So the reason why I made it was for my school's program. Like, it was part of our curriculum to create our own short film. So I knew that I wanted to do something that was just super Black. I was like, it's me making this on my own. When will I have this chance again? I want to do something that celebrates us, that is a day in the life of my life. I literally live this every week. And kind of what birthed this idea, I'd always get a lot of questions about how do I do my hair? And I'm like, you know what, let me just show you. And so that's kind of how Wash Day came about.
And it's so funny because so many of these stories, that's how they come about, right? Sort of like whether it's something that you personally or something that you've experienced. And that's why it's so important to tell them. And that's why your particular stories, I think, are incredibly important for that. And I wanted you to talk a little bit about the importance of it. And you touched on it a little bit, Red, about, youth and, especially young girls, especially in this time of Instagram and Snapchat, and like constantly trying to change your appearance to fit in, and especially with the pageant. But you're saying, Tracy, about judging yourself on your beauty, and we see how destructive that can be. How important was that for you when you were making your movies for this particular audience? And let's go to Red.
It was super important because I wanted to show them, sort of, it was like surveillance on their own lives that they live every day. Like, look, this is what's going down, and these are like some of the paths that they're trying to get you to take, but I want you to be able to think for yourself, and not coming from a judgmental standpoint, but like, hey, look here, I was there too, and let me try to steer you in the other direction. But as for people that did get to see the film, things didn't work out that way. But luckily, little Sabrina was able to get a second chance. So
great. And Kingsley, what about you? Yours is a children's book anyway, and so you decided to make it into this short.
Yeah, I would say mine, in terms of beauty, more so like the self-esteem thing is, I feel similar in mine, because like, it's so easy to feel down about yourself. But the reason why I chose to do like fish is like, fish is like, it's like there's no like race behind a fish. It's just a fish. So it's like, it's universal. So it doesn't matter who you are. You can relate to this fish who's like, has low self-esteem. I don't know.
No, I mean, I think that was very true, in watching that. And if you all haven't had the opportunity to watch it, but it's really great. And it's, it's sort of like, you come into a situation and you think that no one wants to be around you, but then you have to sort of like do some sort of like self-reflection, say, well, maybe I need to, pivot a little bit to look within myself to find who I am. And so that was I thought was very interesting. And Jada, what about you about Wash Day and sort of like people understanding and knowing that they see themselves?
Yeah, so originally when I was making this short film, my mission statement in sorts was like, for those who know can relate, those who don't know can learn, but everyone can enjoy. So that's really what I wanted to push across with making this film. Like, for those of us that go through this, I see you and I hear you. It's a struggle, but we make it through and our hair turns out beautifully. And then those who don't know, they learn something. Like, so many of my friends were like, wow, I didn't know that that's what goes into doing your hair. But it's a film that, regardless of how much you know about dealing with black hair and styling it, everyone has enjoyed it. So that's been the big takeaway for me.
And Tracy, to follow up on that, it's sort of like this, I feel like your film is somewhat the same way. It's like, you know, opening a window for us to see things we don't necessarily know. And you know, when we think about, you know, beauty pageants, we think about Miss America or we think about Miss Universe. There's all these other pageants and elements that go into this. And so what is the message that you that you wanted people to take away from seeing this and you know, and having people feel about this whole industry, and for young folks, really? You know,
in my first comment, I was saying that I was not judging. In a way, in all honesty, I was judging because it disturbed me, mainly about the children, not so much about grown women, because if that's what you want to do, you know,
right,
go ahead, be, you know, go be with God, do it the best way you possibly can. But I was disturbed that mothers would put their daughters out there and do it. And I was actually very honest with the one mother, Michelle, whose daughter, Michaela, who you saw towards the end. And I was honest with her and I said, I'm not, you know, don't think this is going to be a fluff piece about pageantry or children's pageantry, because I felt that this is not the time for, you know, everybody's talking about this, you know, equality for women and strength with women, and then you have pageantry. So that was the message I was trying to get, is that you need some kind of balance there. And I understand the whole point about validation, but beauty outweighed, you know, intelligence and skill and things that you can do. That disturbed me. And I think the most important pageant to me that I didn't judge was the Miss Wheelchair America, because they were basically these women. Some of them couldn't walk, some of them couldn't use their arms, but they were, you know, psychiatrists, nuclear physicists, and they wanted to win, but it was all for, I felt, and I shouldn't say this, a better reason, you know, to win, not just how pretty you are, how thin you are, how long your hair, you know what I mean? So that's what I got out of the film, and that's what I wanted to show, is that let's have a little bit more of a purposeful reason for doing pageantry. And I don't know if it came out that way. I hope. Did you find that? What's that? Did you find that purposeful reason for having pageantry? Not really, because so many, both sides of the argument are like, this is terrible. These, you know, you shouldn't do pageants. And the other side was like, I love it. I don't care what anybody thinks. Just like you, this one woman said to me, you do your docs and I do pageants. I'm like, okay, all right, you're right. So they're really, I never felt the balance in my heart. And I just felt those two sides are never going to come together or see that gray area. It's always gonna be black and white. And that's what I found in making the movie. So, and it also disturbed me more about the children even more after I shot the film, because I was there for an entire week in Orlando, behind the scenes with these moms and with these little girls. And it should be outlawed. It's terrible, but that's just my opinion. So. Right. Anyone else could be making that movie and come up with a whole different, different, right. Exactly. That's the whole thing about documentary filmmaking or filmmaking, right? It's all of your perspectives. Exactly. So I mean, I feel like in this day and age, like I said before, with all of this social media and everything, it's so important that we are, you know, using media as a way to tell these stories and get them across. So I'm curious, if you're in this festival, you may be in other festivals, I would love to know sort of what the reaction is. I mean, Jada, I liked that whole conversation about, you know, people who saw it had no idea, other people saw it and said, oh my God, that's me. And that's like this positive reaction that you're getting from your films. But I'm wondering if you all are getting, what other reactions you're getting about your films, you know, especially if you've screened them to youth or you've been in other festivals, because, you know, I really think that there's an opportunity for films like this to be teaching moments
and have them in schools or after school programs and things like that. Are you all doing anything like that?
Yeah, I was able to screen Little Sabrina in a couple of other places, and the reactions I've been receiving was like, whoa, the ending they were not expecting. It went like left field, and it did for me as well, because that wasn't my call. We had a lot of people involved on this film, and one of the directors was like, yo, let's just do this, especially it was timely. And as we see today, this is always going to be that same issue. It's not something that has stopped. And people, like the fact that the ending played out the way it did. So that's some of the reactions I've been getting.
Excellent. Anyone else?
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to play it at actually one of my sister's high school for a bunch of like Black girls, and it was great to see. They're like, wow, this was so me. Like they all just loved it. It's like, I want to see more of your stuff. I'm like, patience. It takes a while, but yeah, that's just been great, and it's been at other festivals as well. And some of the comments I get, it's like, wow, I'm really glad I was able to make this for everyone. Like it's been great.
I mean, and that's the thing we know, right? And as independent filmmakers, you all are so important to this journey about putting out images where people can see themselves and celebrate ourselves, Black people, in ways in which we don't necessarily get to see in mainstream media. And it's so important that happens, that you have that reaction and people are like, I feel validated that here's a story that speaks to me. So I think that's important. So Kingsley, what about you? Have you had Standoff Fish anywhere else, or even reactions to your books, and if in and around the Black community?
I haven't had the opportunity to screen it anywhere else, but I have gotten feedback from a number of people that I've sent it to, and I did want to be like a children's book. And what some of the feedback I have got is like, I like that, it is for children, but has words and stuff that's like obviously not usually in children's books, but it's like, because we want to challenge these kids to like, ask about, like, figure out about themselves at an earlier age. And I just want to help out any way I can with that.
That's wonderful. And Tracy, you talk about how the participants in the film reacted. What about, have you screened it at other festivals, and what people's reactions have been? I know what my reaction was,
It's screening at other festivals, but that hasn't happened yet. But I have screened it with other groups, and what has come out is more so that people are more interested in the diversity of pageantry, and they were really taken by the fact that I had, the disabled, the young woman with the Down syndrome, and also the drag queen. So people embrace the fact that, it's not just Miss America and Miss USA. So that part people really did like. So.
Great. So we don't have much time, and we could talk forever, because I think this is such an important subject around, behavior and choices and youth and images of us, in the greater world. But I do have to ask, because everyone always wants to know, sort of like, what's next? And I know that that's like a question like, oh my God, what do you mean what's next? I just finished the film. It took me forever. And now what? I'm going to make something else? But it's just a curious question that people have. So what's next? Jada, we can start with you.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Sure. Well, currently, my film is still making its way through some festivals. I'm just focused on living life at the moment so I can get more stories. Since this was a story that I took from my life, in order to make more stories, I have to just live life. So that's where I'm at right now.
That's great. Tracy?
Right when COVID hit in March, I just started shooting a new doc on the murdered and missing Indigenous people in the Southwest.
Oh, wow.
I was shooting in Montana about two young women, one woman who was murdered on the highway and another one who was killed in a hotel. And then COVID hit. But I'm working with other people, other subjects that I'll be interviewing, and we may have to do social distancing, but we're going to pick it back up in November. So.
Wow, such an important topic, an important piece. We've heard a lot about it in the not a lot, I shouldn't say. We've heard about it in the news, but nothing, really, deep research about that. So I'm really looking forward to that. We had a couple of really great Native and Indigenous stories in the early part of the festival. So if you have a chance, it's in the Land and Ancestor Shorts programs. But there's some folks there you might want to connect with in your project. And Red, what about you?
So I'm a recording artist. So my recent album that I just released was going to have a film component to it. And because of COVID, much like Tracy, we weren't able to film any of that, but the script is ready to go. So I'm hoping that, next year, maybe we can pick it back up and it'll be like my first sort of like feature film that's tied into a body of work. So.
Wow, that's exciting. And Kingsley, what about you?
So I also make films with my brother. I have a twin brother, and so we just finished editing our first like feature documentary. It's like a fake documentary. It's not a real one, but it's like
A mockumentary of.
yeah, something like that. So
So when are you gonna hit the airways with that?
I don't know. We submitted to some festivals, and we'll just again with like COVID, obviously we wanted to premiere it and like have this big premiere, but obviously with everything's going on, it's kind of hard. So we're just playing it by ear for now.
Great. Well, I just want to thank all of you so much for taking the time, for getting up early, Tracy and Kingsley, and on the West Coast. We really appreciate that. And for Red and Jada, we're happy that you're here with us on the East Coast, and we hope to see more from all of you very soon. Rox Film, we're here for you in any way that we can help support you and connect you with other filmmakers. And we just really appreciate your work. So I just want to say thank you for being with us. Thank you for your films. And we hope that you can join us for Filmmaker Hangout tonight. And anybody who's listening who's interested in coming to that, it's really a great opportunity to meet your fellow filmmakers. So have a great day, everybody, a great Sunday. And we'll see you soon.